Greetings, everyone. This is Kev'aun Jones, and I welcome you to the Kev'aun Jones Show. As always, I am Kev'aun Jones, and I am here bringing the greater good to the galaxy, one caller at a time. Now, we are going to be discussing sadness today. And in my opinion, there is a great deal of sadness in the galaxy. And here at the Kev'aun Jones Show, we want to work really hard to turn those frowns upside down and do what we can to chase away the blues. I'm sorry? Oh, really? That seems a little rude. Christine, who's working the Vox lines for me, has just told me that the blues is a derogatory term for the Tau. No, I actually don't want you to chase us away. Uh, I mean, we're here to help. It's just, look, we're going to try to have a positive attitude today, and we're going to have some callers, and see if we can bring just a little bit of Tau enlightenment into a cold and unforgiving universe. Okay, so we have Requiem Lull, who is saying that they are going to fortify this voice chat. I appreciate that. We have Commissar RJ Pfeiffer. Copy that. Welcome. It is rare that we have a commissar who's. Oh, and he's also encouraging Gary to be nice for now. Gary is saying, the blue git. I assume he might be an Orcish listener. But I think we have a pretty good group so far. We have 8 people listening. So I think we have went down to 7. I'm chasing people off. But I want to welcome everyone. And Gary's saying, if you say so, Commissar. And Degentagon says, I love your work, man. Thank you. It really means a lot when I try to put out just a little bit of my work and a little bit of the greater good reaches the heart of the people who are out there. So I do thank you. So a reminder to everyone who might call in, I just want to make this disclaimer. This show is not a clinical setting, nor is it a replacement for any kind of therapy, nor am I licensed to treat species outside of the Tau Empire. The show is meant to inform and entertain, and it's really to help me understand all of the different people that are out there in the galaxy and learn possible ways where we can all come together under the umbrella of the greater good and work together for a brighter future for the galaxy. So when callers ring in, I am not going to try to diagnose them, but I will give my perspectives and some thoughts on what might be going on, and also make some suggestions on what steps might be wise to take, or this would be what I am thinking about. Okay, and also, if you do decide that you would like to call in, all I ask is for a small donation, any amount will do, and then I will take your call live on the air, and I will give you my perspective on any issue that you might be having. And we'll certainly talk about other discussions that are going on in the Vox feed, and I can give my thoughts on those as well. But we do need to keep our lights on here, and Kristen's going to keep up to date on what's going on, and all of your donations will go to strengthen my Sept Ormuz. Thank you very much. We have Fat Man in Pop saying, me, Aguavesa, and my Tau wife enjoy your show daily. It really helps us well. That's good to hear. I didn't realize that we had too much in the way of cross-species fraternization, but I'm glad that if it's working out for you. Hawkins, of course, we have is a friend of the show, a distributor of chili fries and nachos, and also will make sure that anyone who is behaving in an inappropriate manner, uh, generally wicked artificial intelligences that bombard chat with unwanted adverts. Hawkins will be a staunch defender and make sure that they are banished into unreality of some kind. We also have yes, name, also says yo. But so welcome everyone. And I think we have a pretty decent um, crew ready to move forward. And as I said, if you have questions or comments, uh, you're welcome to call in with any issue that we might be having. So I think we'll start at first acknowledging that there's a lot of misery and unhappiness in the galaxy. And there's a lot of different kinds of mental disorders that people develop, went from post-traumatic stress disorder to various other anxiety disorders to depression to um, some pretty deep-seated maladjusted coping mechanisms, obsessive behavior, self-destructive behavior, antisocial behavior. The list kind of goes on and on and on. Um, so, and sometimes I like to address those issues individually, but today I think we're going to be very broad and discuss kind of sadness and frustration because every single sentient being at some point, maybe with the exception of orcs, feels a kind of sadness at some point or another. Now, I'm going to discuss some things that generally help Tau and humans cope with feelings of sadness um, and feelings of frustration and other things. Okay, we have a few more people calling in or talking. Okay, Kobold says, cheer, love this guy. Good to hear, good to hear, good to hear that my show is being viewed and appreciated. As I say, that does help me quite a bit to know that I'm appreciated. And I appreciate that I'm appreciated. And this kind of goes into our first point, which is developing a sense of gratefulness. So, one of the things that you want to do to generally reduce distress that's caused by different kinds of discomfort or suffering or hardship is to develop a grateful attitude. That someone who is appreciative of where they are in life, they appreciate the things they have. They think about how good it is that they have the friends they have, how good it is uh, to have the people in their lives that they do. Um, that that grateful attitude, um, it helps you to enjoy things that are good in your life more, and it helps make difficult times easier to bear because when bad times happen or when you lose something or someone that you really cared about, you can still kind of fall back on this gratefulness as a way of coping that, uh, you lost your friend, but you appreciate that you had them, that you had known them. You'll keep the memory going. I don't think there's a way to kind of avoid sadness in that case. That's pretty natural, but it will help prevent your normal healthy mourning period from becoming extended or becoming something unhealthy or cause you undue distress because you just can't get over a loss. The opposite of this is a feeling of entitlement, which is a sense that I deserve something. I deserve more wealth. I deserve more. I deserve to have uh, this person that I have affection for to have affection back to me. I deserve to be recognized for how great I am. I deserve to have all these things that I want. And I think that causes discontent in the moment. But the other thing that having an entitled attitude has is when you get the things that you feel entitled to, they don't give you any kind of satisfaction. because you felt like you deserved them. I deserve this thing. I now have the thing that I deserve. I don't feel any satisfaction from having earned it or being given it, or I don't feel any kind of appreciation if that's the way I kind of have that attitude. Um, Hawkins is apparently eating nachos and guac. Um, Decided to smile and grow a horn. Oh, the guac decided to smile and grow a horn. Should I be worried? You might want to stop eating that guacamole. Um, that might not, in fact, be guacamole. Um, Gary is agreeing. Interesting that we have orcs agreeing. The commissar apparently is tolerant of orcs, but not heretics. Attrition's here. Welcome, attrition. Who has just been sniping battles. Oh, this is an aggression, a declaration of aggression. Commander Baneblade is apparently ordering us to be fired upon. Um, so unfortunately, we'll have to do a military response to that. But fortunately, I think it does seem that we are making some positive impacts. Though we do have people who might have different opinions. Whereas we feel that everyone should get along in the galaxy, that we should work for our mutual growth and prosperity. Um, there are those who respectfully disagree and believe in wars of genocide and racial purity. And we have to have those discussions. They're hard discussions to have, but that's one of the things we're here to talk about on the Kev'aun Jones show. All right, we have Edward Rylance. Um, oh my goodness, my head's feeling a little odd. One moment, we might have an incoming message from, I believe, an astropath. Primordial forces that. Oh, I am sorry. I must have been disconnected. While I have you on, what is your opinion on the Tau's presence in the warp? It is very small for a sentient form. That's a good question. It's a little off topic of kind of sadness and dealing with feelings of sadness. But I am generally pretty grateful that we have what other races have described as um, a small psychic footprint, I suppose. Um, that we are this kind of protects us a fair bit. We're not as attractive to demons or other warp entities. They are less likely to threaten us. Um, but it does also mean that we don't have the benefits of having psychers in our society. I have heard stories of psychers doing some pretty incredible things. Uh, I think it is a bit unfortunate that we don't have the good sides of being a psyker, but there are also very dangerous sides of having psychers in your population. A very difficult thing to deal with given the dangers associated with it. Um, yeah, I think our caller is continuing. A message coming in once again. Yes, I can see the benefit of that and its cost. I find it very interesting. It appears that message came in out of order, and I apologize for that. It might have just been a confusion in uh, your psychic energy uh, interacting with my admittedly weaker psychic presence. But I exist. We exist. Blessed Brother Caldo, hello, Tau person. Welcome, welcome. For those of you, we're now up to 20 people. That's a good number. That's a pretty good number. I am not always accustomed to having such a large number. If you do decide um, to stick around, I do ask that you like the stream. Always good to have more people coming in, more people really expressing themselves and and being a part of the greater good, and listening to the message that I have here. So I do very much appreciate anyone who is liking, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. So the other thing that I want to share is if you want to continue discussing uh, the Kev'aun Jones show. Oops, I clicked on the wrong button. I just need to, that's the one. I'm going to send you the link to our discussions. And that way you can join us. Let me just pull this up. You'll be able to join us and share your thoughts and continue all of us working towards the greater good. So I very much appreciate that. Let's take a look. What do we have? Any other? Same unknown caller from before. Have I ever encountered a Tau psyker? I have never detected one, but if a being has the potential to do it, it is possible. Are your also your speech on grief is very aware? Good, thank you. I'm glad of that. I have never met a Tau psyker. I have heard stories of Tau being possessed by demons. It's a rare thing. And there is from what I understand, there is an increase recently on psychic phenomenon in the races that have psychers. So I've never heard of it, but it could be possible that certain Tau of certain castes, maybe the ethereals would be my guess of who might be the most likely, could possibly develop psychic abilities. But that's speculation on my part. I don't know. Okay. Commissar R.J. Pfeiffer has a question. I have a question for you, Kev'aun. How much do you know about our God Emperor? I know a bit. Most interactions with the Imperium mention him quite a bit. My understanding, mostly I've heard his name invoked a lot. The information I've gotten from humans that have previously lived in the Imperium and ended up in the Tau Empire either as refugees or because they eventually were incorporated into the Empire, don't give me a whole lot of information. There's a lot of kind of religious wording around him, so I don't know that much other than he is powerful, he is good, he sits on the golden throne, he guides us through the void. There are things that are kind of said like that. That he protects, the Emperor protects, is very common, but I don't know that much about the figure, who the Emperor actually is. And is that sort of a god figure? There are some people who talk about him like he exists, but I certainly haven't seen him around. We have never had an envoy from the Emperor. So I'm a little bit lax on the details of that, but I haven't pushed, I suppose. And there was one member of the ecclesiarchy who rambled on at length about the emperor, but I kind of lost the thread of what he was talking about. Um, so, Fat Man and Pop, what type of Greater Good gummies do you like, and what are your favorites? Greater Good gummies are a very popular treat for those of you who are not familiar. I tend to prefer uh, Gremenberry. Those are the green ones. I think those are pretty good, pretty tasty. Let's see. Any other questions? Commander Baneblade is saying, "Shall not falter for the glory of the Imperium." That seems like a pretty standard thing to say. Um, the Shark is talking about Duperium. I do know a bit about Duperium, though it's pretty much on the opposite side of the galaxy from Tau space. But I have heard a little bit about it. There have been, for whatever reason, my Vox messages are able to reach there. I'm not sure how it's able to do that, but I do apparently have some listeners in Duperium. A couple have actually suggested that there could be some level of cooperation, which has previously been impossible for orcs, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Um, it might just simply be a matter of distance, that it's not practical for us to try to cooperate. Um, Commissar is telling me that the Emperor is their leader and their god. Okay. I was able to sort of glean that from the information I had so far. Okay, but I'm certainly happy to hear more. We do allow humans to continue to worship their emperor if they become part of the greater good. And as I said, I have not. I am somewhat familiar with the iconography, the imagery, but there's still information I don't know about it, and happy to learn more. Okay, getting. Let's go ahead and get back to um, coping with sorrow, coping with sadness, and helping yourself avoiding, I guess, unnecessary distress is kind of the way to put it. Another thing that happens, I don't know if you've heard this, but there is a phrase that humans have said for quite some time. That which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And to a degree, that's true. There is such a thing as mental resiliency, which essentially amounts to if you have something bad happen to you, if you um, or if you're able to overcome some sort of distressing thing that's in your life, that yes, you do become more mentally resilient and more able to react to upsetting or disturbing um, things. That uh, once you've been able to kind of weather a tragedy, you're able to better withstand them in the future. Now, that doesn't mean that every single time something bad happens to you, um, shaking it off and moving forward uh, is always the best way to deal with things. Um, because what sometimes happens is if you do not address the feelings that you have, if you do not address your hurt, you just end up kind of piling on this emotional pain and injury until eventually kind of overwhelms your ability to ignore it. This is resiliency is not um, pushing down or repressing feelings. It is getting better at uh, knowing what your feelings are, addressing them, processing them, and then moving forward. Um, I mean, it's sort of like if you've ever been around an infant or a child of either the human or the Tau species. The little ones are very easily distressed. If they're hungry, they will cry. They can't wait for things. They don't have any patience, and that is simply because their brains have not developed to the point where they can cope with that kind of thing. But they learn resiliency. They learn that every time they don't get their way, they don't have to cry. And that continues to happen throughout adulthood. Um, it's just an important thing to be aware of so you can deliberately react and develop your resiliency. I don't think the orcs know what crying is. Um, I suppose you would experience it as humies kind of making funny gasping noises. Um, that would be what it sounds for you, and then water would come down from their eyes. That would also happen. All right, let's take a look. Um, it's true. The amygdala grows from hardship. Make more smart. My favorite train engine in my Forge world got eaten by the Tyranids. How do I cope with this loss? Um, that's definitely a serious problem. Um, I would definitely, hopefully, some of what we're talking about here can help. Again, when it comes to, I'd recommend finding someone to talk to about it. Um, have a plan of what you're going to do. If it is something that can be replaced, replacement might be possible. If it is not, if this object is lost for good and irreplaceable, um, talking it out with someone and kind of addressing the feelings of loss can be very helpful. All right, we have Hawkins, our very own Moderator, calling in. Go ahead. Hey, yeah, do you know how to fix an AC unit? It's just got so hot in here that I see fungus moving. Oh, joyous days! I think you might very much be in danger. Um, Possibly being stricken with Nurglepox. So, this is not a mentally healthy thing, but this might be a bodily. The best idea for your bodily health and the bodily health of everyone on your planet is to probably quarantine yourself. Self quarantine might be wise. So I hope everything works out for you, Hawkins. Okay. Um, let's see. What other questions? What is my opinion on the Emperor of Mankind? I don't have much of an opinion on the Emperor himself, um, but more the way I have opinions on the way the Imperium is sort of arranged, which is that it is frequently corrupt. It's pretty decentralized. It is a bloated bureaucracy that is not very responsive to the needs of the thousands and thousands and thousands of worlds that are a part of it. There are those who say there's even millions of worlds. Um, I think there is a lot of pain in the Imperium. And that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing, to be able to start to address some of the hurt that causes a lot of the mistrust, the violence, the xenophobia, the wars of genocide, etc., etc. That if we just, are able to learn how to deal with some of these feelings, maybe we don't have to all shoot each other all of the time. Okay. Could the could could the emperor make a throne he can't sit on? Well, that seems like a religious uh, religious discussion that I don't think I'm qualified to engage in. Okay, I have grown attached to my las gun. Is that bad? Um, so here's a good way of figuring out if you have some kind of mental issue that should be dealt with. Um, if you are attached to your las gun, um, does your attachment cause you distress? Or are you simply happy? Are you happy to have your las gun? Or is it more that you need to have your las gun in order to feel happy, and when you're parted from it, you feel distress? I think that would be the the metric. If you Yes, if you feel distressed being separated from your las gun, you probably want to figure out a way to be a little bit less dependent on it, because there are times in your life where you probably aren't going to be able to have your las gun, or you might need to sit and eat and have your las gun sitting a little bit farther away. Um, I think there's a reasonable amount you can be attached to something, but it is how much it causes you distress. Okay. Oh, I got another call coming into my brain. Let's see what this caller has to say. Go ahead, caller. Oh no, it sounds like you have a warp entity on your hands, Hawkins form. The best defense is a summoning ritual for another warp entity. The ritual is simple. All you need to do is. I think we've lost that one. Hopefully that was helpful. They have to speak through me, so it's a little bit difficult. All right, got another call coming in. Go ahead, caller. I am here with Nurgle's blessed boxers to let you know that the grandfather Nurgle loves you all. Can you leave now? Nope. It seems like you have a bit of a situation there. You might be festering with boils. Your lungs might be rotting and filling with fluid. Uh, Flies and other parasites might likely be living in your flesh by now. Um, my recommendation would be to start coming to peace with the life you've lived. Um, I would not recommend embracing the promises or the gifts of Grandfather Nurgle, but reject them and instead pass away knowing with some peace in mind, knowing that your death will hopefully prevent the infection of the entire planet that you're on. That you can simply die and that the disease will end with you. That's a noble sacrifice that should be appreciated. Brandon Myers is here. Welcome. Donald93 is also here. Welcome aboard. Still going on pretty strong, I think. Okay. So, a couple of things. We're going to keep moving on to different. This is sort of related to the question earlier about the attachment to the lasgun. I was talking about how your attachment to something becomes a negative when it becomes distressing or like just an obstacle to you functioning normally. That's kind of a good measure for mental disorders. If you have a mental disorder or is something a problem, is the thing causing you distress? And if it's not, that's generally fine unless the thing you're doing is causing other people distress. There's definitely plenty of things that people do that they very much enjoy that cause other people distress, and but that's kind of a different thing. All right, so one of the things you want to do is kind of be aware of your own thoughts. This is another important part of working through sadness or sorrow or pain, and that's to be introspective about it. Now, I think some people, they don't so much get introspective as they get just, people often call it getting inside your own head, where you are kind of repeating the same kind of ideas. Your brain is kind of just going through distressing messaging, harmful, self-defeating thoughts. That's sort of a different thing. There's a difference between overthinking and kind of getting trapped in your own head, and rather feeling sorrow and then kind of thinking about it and understanding where your pain comes from. It's having knowledge about yourself is pretty important, because if you understand what's happening, you are better able to respond to it. I remember at one point there was a time where I just hadn't eaten enough for a little while, and I had had a lot to drink, and essentially I got low on electrolytes, which allow neurotransmitters in my brain to function properly, and I couldn't. I ended up getting too low on electrolytes, and I suddenly became very, very acutely distressed and depressed, and there's a bunch of health problems that went along with it. And that happened, and I completely didn't know what was going on, and it was hard for me to deal with. It was hard for me to react. I ended up having to be treated, and before I was told that I was low on electrolytes. And what I did later is there's still times where I'm out and about and doing things and getting hot and sweaty and tired, and it would happen again. But because I knew it was going on, I knew to replenish the parts of that I needed in my bodies. Essentially, I was able to react appropriately, and that's a big important thing to do if you are dealing with mental health issues, to really understand how your own mental issues work, how you feel sadness, why you feel sadness, if you feel very angry very easily. It's good to have a part of your brain that you kind of keep, kind of checks you, that says, wait a minute, I know what's going on here. I haven't eaten recently, so I'm being irritable and angry. I need to eat something. And that kind of helps you manage even an acute situation where you are having some very hard problems. you still can then act appropriately. So, okay. Eric Rayner's saying, I know the feeling. My last B-Day got wasted because I am always uh, stupidly hap drunk. But this time I had like crying despair attacks. Well, that's a big danger when it comes to alcohol. Is it does two things. One is it reduces your inhibitions, which is usually what causes the pleasurable experience of drinking alcohol. You're more confident. You're having fun. You and your friends are less inhibited. You're more open to kind of experiences, and that's kind of the good part of it. The bad part of it, especially when you drink a lot, is it is a depressant ultimately, and it slows down your metabolism, and it very much, especially if you are depressed already, it very much exacerbates um, depressive symptoms. So you need to be careful. Be careful. Don't drink if you're already unhappy. A lot of humans will try to self-medicate with alcohol. That is going to make your situation worse. Don't self-medicate with alcohol. It disrupts sleep and makes depressive symptoms worse. Um, let's take a look. So yeah, if you're going to drink and you want to have a good time, I tend to think that a good rule of thumb is to keep it to a buzz. If you can keep it to a buzz, that generally gives you that feeling of being uninhibited, but it's also dangerous because when you're uninhibited, you're more likely to engage in unwise behavior like drinking more. So it is what it is. You kind of just need to, it is a fine line to walk, and uh, you just want to make sure you have some way of being aware of your own limits when you're doing that. Okay. Self-regulate with a commissar. Commissars certainly are very happy to regulate things. We have someone saying, all praise to the Night Lord, master of fear and terror, Ave Dominus Nox. I would recommend that everyone double security patrols. I don't want anyone getting into the Palace of Peace that we have here on the capital sept, capital of my sept. And we have Cadians threatening to bayonet jab the heretic. Okay. All right. So the other thing is critical thinking. This is another important part of being able to manage uh, basically sorrow, pain, mental disorders in general. So there's actually a correspondence between intelligence um, and mental disorders. The more intelligence, the more raw intelligence you have, the more prone you are to mental disorders, to madness, to essentially your brain is able to do a lot more. And it's kind of a simplified way of saying it, but the more complicated your brain is, the more it can go wrong, I suppose. Um, that's oversimplification, but it is a thing that happens. Is that intelligent brains tend to get locked into unhealthy patterns of thought more easily because they have a greater capacity to develop maladjusted coping strategies. So, however, so people might say, well, what's the point in being smart? Ignorance is bliss. No, that's not true. Um, Critical thinking is a different thing than raw intelligence. Critical thinking is being able to take information. Um, we got a call here from Miles O'Halloran. All right, Miles, go ahead. I can hold on critical thinking for a second. Go ahead. Happy Cadian Day, everyone! Thank you, Miles O'Halloran. Yes, for those of you celebrating in the Imperium, I do hope you all have a happy Cadian Day. I am a little confused because I've heard some mixed stories Um, I've heard that Cadia was destroyed. I've heard that from many, uh, let's just call them imperial detractors. Um, but I've also heard from the Imperium that Cadia stands. So I'm not sure what's going on, but in whatever state Cadia is in, I hope that you all have a pleasant and well-adjusted Cadian day. Okay, so going back to critical thinking, this is basically an individual's ability to assess the truth of the matter, to be able to take a bunch of information, understand what it means, synthesize meaning out of it, and then come to. It's basically when your brain is able to properly process information into uh, real, actionable kind of data, I guess you would say. To take a bunch of, you got a bunch of stimuli coming in, and if your brain is able to kind of understand why something is happening, understand how your own mind is reacting to something, understanding what a good response to this thing is going to be, that also helps a great deal with mental resiliency and the ability of humans to kind of cope with hardship. Looks like we're getting some taunting going back and forth in the chat. Someone's saying Cadia stands, unlike the Emperor. Um, Gary, it sounds like his brain is starting to hurt. Don't let your brain hurt. Just if you're starting to have trouble processing everything, just take a deep breath. Um, and you don't have to learn all of this all at once. This is certainly information that I repeat in my that I repeat when I actually do these sort of talks. Um, Looks like whoops, that crazy commissar is sending us through the meat grinder again. Uh, Bayonet is grabbed. Um, the commissar will give you all the distress you need if you aren't attached to your LAS at all times. I think that might be now. I could see that being very important for a military that you're keeping track of your weapon. I certainly wouldn't want um, any of my fire warriors to misplace any of their weapons, especially given the sheer power of them, the ability uh, to utterly punch through uh, the armor of the enemies of the Tau. Krieg is apparently standing with Cadia. How do the Tau handle, treat, and live with mental illness? A big part of this is the other part of dealing with this is there's actually is it Nietzsche who said this? I believe there was a human who wrote about one of the big principles of what we believe in the Tao is I believe this human said, if you have a uh, if you have a why, you can endure any how. Which is to say that if you have purpose in life, if you have meaning in your life, if you have a reason to exist, if you have a thing that you very staunchly believe and are willing to kind of uh, sacrifice yourself for its good, to work hard for the benefit of this thing, that does a lot for mental resiliency, and that's a big part of the idea of the greater good, is that if people are sort of locked into this notion of the greater good, are willing to fight for it, are willing to live by it, are willing to, um, you know, trust that this principle is good and is worth spreading through the galaxy. That can produce a very powerful mental strength. This is a similar idea that happens in religion. If people believe in certain religious truths, or believe that taking certain action is good or will be rewarded, or whatever the various ideas, the religious ideas that sort of exist in the galaxy, that can also cause a kind of resiliency. But this is one of the reasons why we allow different religions in the Tau Empire, as long as they're no one's summoning warp entities anywheres. The other thing that you do need to be careful of is if the thing you've put your trust in, like let's say you put your trust in the Imperium, and you end up having an experience with the Imperium that is very negative, like you have a corrupt governor, you are dealing with corrupt elements of the Arbites, you're arrested unjustly, you have to pay unfair taxes, due to the selfish decisions of wealthy nobles, you lose your job and your ability to feed yourself and your family. That kind of causes this kind of faith. It causes a kind of crisis of faith. And crisis of faith does not need to be a religious sort of thing, but it is a collapse of kind of a mental support system. Of if you lose your faith, like in the Imperium, or you know, forbid this should ever happen, but you lose faith in the greater good that you have put all this trust in, then you can have this kind of drastic collapse and acute distress that comes along with it. So, okay, let's see if we have. So that was a long one, but I felt that was kind of important, and it tied into some of the other things I wanted to talk about. How much do I know about Krieg, Kev'aun? I know that they probably could stand to have better mental health services, but I do also believe that they're very fierce fighters. They're very dedicated, and they're very self-sacrificing. Kind of out of what could be seen as a dedication, an admirable dedication, or it could also be their willingness to die could also be seen as kind of a form of maladjustment that they couldn't accept, that they've kind of been conditioned to be shamed for something that they have no responsibility for. Krieg, I don't think I know a bit about what that they did something bad in the past, but we're talking hundreds of years in the past, and none of the generations of Kriegsmen who are alive now share any kind of responsibility for the acts of the past that happened on their planet, but they still feel that responsibility, and I don't know if that is the healthiest thing to kind of build your society around. Let's see. Hold on. Did you say if you have Wa, you can handle it? How? Are you sure Nietzsche is a Hume? No. If you have a Y, if you have a Y, you can handle any how. That was what I said. I think Nietzsche was a Hume. A human, I suppose. I'm using the orc terminology. There's no escaping chaos, marks us all. I don't know that much about chaos. I don't know if it has that much of an influence on me. Cadian heretic is one of us boys. Time to do decimation. Everyone break into groups of 10. Common, even you, Steve. Oh, looks like might be going through some decimation. That's unfortunate. That is an interesting thing of tolerance of the greater good. What if some Xenos in your empire believed something called the lesser evil? Okay. Let me think about that. Let me see if I can formulate my thoughts on that. I see. I don't enjoy trying to. I think there are certainly situations where you have to choose between a limited number of options, and the results are not going to be desirable. But I don't think. So I think you might have to choose, quote, the lesser evil. But I prefer not to think of it that way, because thinking about picking the lesser of two evils as the motivating factor, because you then are not putting your decisions in a framework of doing the most good. Because sometimes you have to. The best thing you can do is something that doesn't have a great outcome. Um, but you should not be seeking to do the lesser of two evils. You should be seeking to do the greatest good that you possibly can. So I guess that would be my objection to notions of the lesser of two evils. Um, Bluefing, where did you learn all these get us smart words? I've been alive for a while, and I am an ethereal. It is kind of my job to learn things and understand and rule my sept. So, in war, death, in life, war, in death, peace, in life, shame, in death, atonement. See, I don't think that's a very healthy outlook. I think that leads to a very fatalistic outlook. I think that leads to some unhealthy thinking. Um, how do you handle demons? We eliminate them. If we encounter demons, it's rare. We don't usually have demonic incursions in Tau space. We do have to deal with Chaos Space Marine war bands. But if we do encounter demons, we take steps to eliminate them as soon as possible. Okay. All right. We've been going on for a good amount of time. For anyone who is just tuning in, this is the Kev'aun Jones Show. If you want to call in, you're certainly welcome to. I will take your call live on the air. We just ask for a small donation if you can, and then I will respond to it. If you haven't yet done so, please like the stream so that way more of the word of the greater good can get out into the galaxy. And if you wish to continue the discussion, you can continue to do that following this link here in the Vox feed. This is a communion of Kev'aun Jones enthusiasts, people who we can talk about the greater good. We can talk about how great it is to be part of a caste system and how wonderful it is to do your part for something greater than yourself. Let's see. Ogren friend loves farming. It helps him distract from fear of small places. Do you think distraction gets your mind off previously traumatizing events? Yeah. No, that's a very important thing to do things that you enjoy, to do things that you find calming. I think there are definitely certain kinds of actions that can. I think it's a good part of a recovery process to just have something to get your mind off of things, but you don't want to have your distraction become just what you're doing in order to avoid kind of the problem you're trying not to think about, at least for a little while. You don't have to dwell on the sorrow that you're struggling with all the time. You can certainly do things to take your mind off of it. But you also don't want to, get heavily involved in some kind of game or gambling or drug use or the kind of idea of like self-medication. You don't want to use even good healthy hobbies that you like. You don't want to turn to them all the time as a means to just never think about the thing that you're struggling to deal with. So I think it's good. I think your Ogren friend is probably good. Physical labor is also good for humans. To do work that you find satisfying is generally very healthy. I think it'd be pretty rare for someone to do farming in a way that would be an unhealthy distraction or function kind of like an opiate. All right. Any other questions we have? I remember the stories when the Tau first encountered demons. These silly gooses took them for new alien life with fancy teleporting tech. Well, when you have never encountered something from the Imaginarium, it's hard to fathom something that is not material. We are a material people. We don't have a strong presence in the warp. Um, I think it's a pretty reasonable response for us, and it's been kind of a difficult thing going out into the galaxy and confronting all of these sort of things. Thoughts on Governor Gregg and his pickle-based policy, or how his voters managed to kill a bloodthirster? That's pretty impressive. I think that like most Imperium Hive worlds, I think Coram Peri 5 has a lot of problems. I don't think Governor Gregg is necessarily equipped to handle those problems by himself. It sounds like there are some reforms that are trying to be made. It also sounds like the new uh, Scola board member is trying to make some reforms as well, putting a greater emphasis on museums. Um, like many things in the Imperium, I think it's a mess, but I think there are people within the ruling group that at least mean well, um, which is probably one of the most important things. I think there are two important things when it comes to ruling. Um, One is good intention, that you want to do good. The other is competency, because there's definitely examples of rulers who simply aren't good at ruling. And many times incompetence can be just as bad as outright malice. Looks like Hawkins is slowly raising his auto stub. Brandon Myers is advocating the killing of Xenos. And in the case of most humans, they consider Tau to be Xenos, and I don't think that's I don't think it's a good idea. I think we should find ways to live in a cooperative manner, to really embrace the greater good as the true creed of the galaxy, and to try to strengthen one another and really um, exist as our strengths allow us to in the galaxy. If you were to choose one, which would you choose? Competency or good intentions? That's very difficult. That's very, very difficult. Um, Honestly, I would probably have to say competency, because because I would say a ruler who is is morally neutral is still going to be able to make sure that the government runs, that things aren't going to fall apart. They have a vested interest in defending the place, keeping the civilians happy. Um, I think I being a ruler, uh, while I think being moral is very important, so I think being incompetent just means that nothing works. Being a bad person means that you're going to exploit some number of people in your that are under your protection, and that can undermine your rule and cause serious problems. But being incompetent, especially a confident incompetence, somebody who makes drastic changes to things, can really damage how a society works. Even just someone who's ignorant, who means well, can do an incredible amount of damage. Hard to say. Hard to say which is worse, but it's being incompetent is very bad. Um, all right, let's see. Are there any other questions? I think I've gone through most of the points I wanted to. So I think we'll mostly take questions if people want to call in, or if they just want to post your questions in chat. Brandon Myers is saying, not totally against cooperating with them. I just need to see more pictures of their women. I see. Okay. Okay. Um, okay. That is probably another issue that is worth discussing, is uh, getting some level of control over one's libido. That mindlessly pursuing that kind of gratification can also lead to unhappiness and frustration. Because usually, if you're thinking too much about it, you're not going about acquiring it in the correct way. Okay, now he's just saying he's joking around. Everybody, all right, come on. The commissar seems upset about that. Brandon's saying he has a point. Well, I can't. I'm not going to. I appreciate that alien life forms find our women to be attractive. I think it's a little strange. But if it's able to work out well, it's also a little frustrating that that the feeling towards Tau females is not reciprocated towards Tau males. But okay, I've got a question coming up. What are your thoughts on the alliance between the Imperium and the Yanari? I don't know that much about it, but I think it's mostly a positive thing. I'm a little leery about the Yanari, given that they do have connections to the Drukhari, that was kind of their origins. They've broken away from them, and they're trying to do something else. They are kind of weird death cult. That's unnerving, but they did help bring back Rabute Gilliman, who is trying to deal with a galaxy that has been split in half by the Great Rift. And as much as I have my problems with the Imperium, they're certainly better to deal with than the forces of chaos. So my thought on it is cautious optimism. Let's call it that way. That the impenetrable armor of xenophobia that has been worn by the Imperium for thousands of years has a little bit of a crack in it, and that crack was formed by kind of an inscrutable member of downright legend, I suppose, from the Imperium. You have a being that's over 10,000 years old that's now leading your Imperium. I don't know how old your emperor is. I assume he's bigger, but he's not at the front lines for whatever reason. Overall, cautious optimism, I think, is a fair way of looking at it. I don't know that much about it, but that's kind of where I am in this. I do have a message from No Man himself. He's gonna pop in here. I'm gonna take a little bit of a break, and I wanted to. He just got some good news, so I'm gonna step aside and have No Man talk to you all directly. We're gonna put the Kev'aun Jones show on hold just for a little bit. Hey guys, this is No Man. I just got a email from my internship. I've been trying to get an internship for my graduate class to actually be a licensed counselor, which is part of the reason why I do Kev'aun Jones. Is it's kind of a funny way for me to just talk about some things that are on my mind. And I just got word back that I have been offered the internship at a location. I'm not going to give the name of the organization because I want to stay anonymous, but it is an organization that helps out with inner city clients who might have some difficulty getting access to mental health care. So I just got that email, and that's like super exciting for me. I'm pretty stoked, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So thank you all. Thank you, Edward Rylands. It should be a paid. I haven't looked at the details yet. I just saw it pop up on my phone. I'm going to look and see if it's a paid internship. If Grants from thank you, Grants, congrats, Ragnar Thorson, totally not Trace the Infinite, thank you, congratulations, Ed Cho, nice, Bobby Morris, congratulations, Eric Rayner, congratulations, way to go, No Man, from Brandon Myers, thank you, Fat Man and Pop, congratulations, dude. Yep, thank you all. I just wanted to share like a cool little happy moment. So cool beans. So I will return you to the Kev'aun Jones show. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. And yeah, just wanted to share that with you. Cool. All right, Kev'aun, you can come back here. Hey, everyone. Let's give a small round of applause for No Man. That's good that he is seeking to become licensed to treat members of his species who might be distressed. So, good, 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 good. Um, yeah, I think we're kind of getting close to the end. Um, like I said, I'm happy to answer any more questions that people have. I think we've been able to talk about a fair number of things. We've talked about the importance of positive thinking, the that having a grateful attitude, looking at the positive side of what's going on in your life is good. This can be very hard if you're in a depressive state. You might there's a tendency for the human brain to kind of lash out against trying to change your attitude towards more positive one. So I understand that that's not easy, but it's still generally a good thing to try to eliminate feelings of entitlement, of I deserve these things in my life, I deserve to have this sort of thing, and rather be grateful for the friends you have in your life, the family that you, if you have family members that you get along with and are close to, be grateful for them. Be grateful for the material things that you have. Even people who do not have very much frequently are able to be grateful. Um, we've had issues of refugees coming from different places across the galaxy, many different alien species, and frequently people will be coming in with nothing. The different alien species will be coming with really nothing. The only thing they have is that they come with a grateful attitude because things can improve from there. We talked about mental resiliency, the importance of once you kind of go through the process of coping in a healthy manner, dealing with tragedy and hardship becomes easier. All right, we have Edward. We have an Eldar coming in, um, an Otark. Go ahead. We are asking nicely. Return this world to the Asayani. It belongs to the Eldari Empire, and not some fledgling upstarts that will be dust in the next 10 millennia. Um, okay, this seems to be a bit of a conflict here. Um, we have been in Sept Ormuz for quite some time. Um, it would have been helpful for you to have contacted us before we settled here and populated the planet, and have several billion people living here now. Um, Anytime within the past 1,000 years. I know that you all kind of look at things from a long. You have a long point of view, but I don't know if we're prepared to pick up stakes and move everything because of an unfounded claim. So I would be happy to enter into negotiations and discussions and uh, possibly figuring out a way that we can coexist. So that is I propose that we exchange emissaries and start working out what needs to be done to kind of resolve this conflict. We will now assume you are the aggressors who are trespassing. I think you're being unreasonable here. I think that uh, we we can resolve this by talking this out, and um, you assuming an aggressive stance is probably going to be bad for both of us. You'll weaken both of our forces. Something I don't think you can scarce afford. And I would very much recommend that you um, take to some negotiation. You all wandered away for thousands of years have made no claim on this planet since then. Likely, if you had this planet left and are now coming to reclaim it, you left it at least, um, what, 15,000 years ago? So I think you're being unreasonable to demand that we immediately get off what you have left unattended for 15,000 years. So I think we will defend ourselves if you choose to attack, but I would prefer to discuss this. So that's my word on it. If you're going to be aggressive, we will defend ourselves, um, and further diminish your already dwindling species. Sorry, I don't want to, but we will defend ourselves if we are attacked. Okay, no discussions. Crusade time. If you decide to have a crusade time, can you crusade into the Eldar fleet that's threatening us? You could also fight them. Get rid of all those Xenos. They're really Eldar. There's another Eldar saying, "Okay, I've got another message. Go right ahead." Yes, that is perfectly our point. Thank you. Look, if there's one thing we can still do is make self-defeating decisions about the fate of our people. Well, at least you're very self-aware of your situation. I guess I can kind of respect that, though it's very confusing. Humius is saying I need Necrodermis Son. Tau Eldar violence. I like where this is going. I don't. I don't like where this is going. I think this is very unnecessary. I think we can incorporate some Eldar living space. We are not a crowded. We generally arrange our planets so they're not incredibly overpopulated or damaging to the environment. I think we could probably make some arrangement. Um, I think there are things to talk about. Is all. I think there are things to talk about. How does the Tau see servo skulls? I think it's a very strange habit. I mean, I kind of look at it the way, the crew eat their enemies and gain the traits, or eat different things and gain the traits of the things they eat, um, which, is very strange for me. And we can't really, it can be very difficult for us to watch. Similarly, I think it's very strange that the humans use pieces of their dead to make automatons that help them do things. So um, I think it's odd, but it is not. I think it's a little unnerving, but it is not an inherently immoral thing. If the humans have some religious reason for taking those that they value and turning them into automatons, as well as waste not, want not, I suppose that makes sense. All right, Eldar, they're saying, all right, go ahead. We will accept nothing more than the mass relocation of all these new people dwelling in our territory. Uh, I don't think I'm prepared to do that. That very much compromises our defense situation. We have defense grids built. We have spaceports. We have uh, we have lots and lots of people here. I don't think we can just pull up stakes and leave. Um, is there a way that we can resolve this without moving billions of people at the drop of a hat because you say so? trying to see if there's any waste not, want not. Servo skulls serve a noble purpose. Tau AI has not tried to go Terminator on them yet. I don't know what you mean by that. Now they're creepy babies with wings. That's just weird. That is quite disturbing. That you essentially vat grow infants to be cyborg automatons. I really don't understand that. All right, we have the Eldar coming back in. Go ahead. You should have thought about that the moment you decide to inhabit a habitable world with seemingly no history. How dare you? Only we can do that. Um, as I said, we can come to some sort of agreement about this. Um, I think I have ideas to resolve the issue. Um, Maybe some things are willing to concede, but I can't dismantle my sept just because you tell me to. If you point us out to another world, we'd be happy to, I don't know, could help you terraform that world. I mean, you've been living on your craft worlds for 15,000 years. Do you really need to do that right this instant? Or I die? Or you threaten to fight? Okay, here we go. Got some questions. Have you ever considered bringing any guest on your show, face to face? I mean, if you have suggestions of people you would like to have come on my show, I certainly wouldn't mind doing that. The solution to all problems is crumpin. That certainly seems like the orky way to do things. What is cross-species education like in Tau space? It is what it sounds like. We try to inform. We obviously have priorities for species that are within the Tau Empire, different member species of the Tau Empire, including humans and Vespids and the various different, and the Kroot, of course, and the various different species that are within. Um, we have Mark Ashamed coming in. I'll take his call in 1 second. But yeah, we do try to, those are the focus, and then we will try to talk about other species that exist as well. Um, any other questions? Eldar is saying, oh, we will just keep living on the craft world. The importance is that no one else can live on the maiden worlds. We're just very petty. Well, I mean, I think that makes sense. Okay, Mark Ashamed, you've been holding on patiently. Go ahead. The High Lords just overruled their prior decision on Rosarius versus Valdemus. They are illegitimate. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'd rather not discuss the politics of the Imperium. I think that can be a pretty sensitive topic. It's, I think it'd make people very upset. So I'd rather not discuss that. Let's see. I feel like the Eldar would have a better case if they just say those planets are nature reserves. Kev'aun, have you met a werewolf or vampire before? I have not. Those are creatures of human myth, yes? The petty affairs of humans. How do Tau make things work with all those different gets wanting different things? It's compromise. It's the willingness to work together, and a common dedication to the greater good. We have commonality through our principles. Do you agree the High Lords of Terra are illegitimate rulers? Again, I can't really speak to human politics. You all are unwilling to be part of the greater good, so I'm not going to comment on your government. Do I find Blood Bowl to be a bit extreme for a type of sports? Yes, very much so. Um, it just seems like a lot of injuries, but it also does seem to kind of placate more violent species. Like it seems to for species that are hungry for war, this kind of satisfies those desires. That's kind of my feeling on it. Murder is bad. I would agree. Murder. Let's put that up for a topic. Is this a common thing we can all accept that murder is bad? Well, this is just a small thing that I'm asking all of you. Are we in agreement? All right, we have. Oh, I'm getting a transmission. Go right ahead. So the Tau Rapid Response Fleet has finally come into orbit and chased said Eldar fleet away for now. Oh, that's very good. Thank you. Appreciate that information. Um, really don't want to fight an entire craft world if I can help it. Um, as nettlesome as the Eldar are, you can deal with them. Uh, they're just very frustrating as they tend to want to use other quote unquote lesser species as a shield while they um, do something, whatever their plan is. Killing in combat is fine. Murder is bad. Um, Someone saying I think so. Unless the thing that is murdered is a git, then it's bad. Yes. Big question: would committing murder for the greater good be considered a good deed if it serves the greater good's will? Um, I think that's an interesting question, but we also need to discuss what murder means. And murder is unlawful killing. Um, Killing people in a war is not really murder unless the conditions of that killing is somehow between the two forces agreed that, let's say two forces are fighting and they both agree we're not going to kill civilians. I know that doesn't happen in much in the galaxy, but let's just say it happens. Then it could be considered murder for someone to do that. I'm just clarifying what murder is. It is unlawful, and I don't think there would be a point at which would be a good idea for the Tau to go against their own laws and commit murder. There's certainly state sanctioned executions. It's rare, but it does happen. In which case, that's not murder. Okay. I heard the Tau have those gits that needs to eat smart species instead of squigs. How do you deal with them? They want to eat you in the offers. Crit are a little bit. I think they're most effective if they're kind of on the fringes. If they are able, we always have military conflicts, and I think the most effective way. It's a little bit of a balance, but because the Kroot also tend to develop the features of the species that are killed. Um, let's just say it's a complicated, delicate process that we don't want them eating us, obviously, but it would be good if they had our traits and not develop the traits of hostile Xenos species. But it's a hard thing to do. Hard thing to do. All right. Mark Ashamed calling in. Go ahead. Why don't the pointy ears ban orcs from this painting on in their sports? We has pointy ears too, so we just has to paint us pink. Orcs are generally not part of the Tau Empire because they have been proven to be wildly violent and there's not really, and they don't abide by laws or respect. They're too destructive, essentially. We haven't been able to find a way to cooperate effectively with orcs. For those of you who might want to continue this discussion after we finished here, you can follow this link here in the Vox feed. Also, make sure that you're liking uh, the stream and subscribing if you find any of this interesting. Lowell, how do the glasses stay on your face? I don't know what you're talking about. But they do. We have a Dark Eldar mercenary. They're saying, I hear Kroot make great hunters who eat their dead, and what they kill to grow stronger. I consider them to be a friend and ally for how strong they can be. Well, I certainly know that the Kroot are known as mercenaries. Being mercenaries certainly serves their needs, but the ones who are part of the greater good have accepted our principles, and it is a bit of a balancing act to kind of keep them strong and healthy and having the mental capacity that we kind of need for them. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Take a couple more questions, but then I think we're going to wrap up then. Do you enjoy those noodle rations that the greater good produces? I very much do. I think they're very tasty. I think they're a little bit nicer than what the Imperium has for rations. I definitely to try the rations that our soldiers, fight on. So I want to make sure that I'm not giving them something I wouldn't be willing to eat under less than ideal circumstances. When's killing and Wa is good for orcs, and there's nothing else than Tau gets around. Is the orcs bad for fighting the Tau in Tau mines? I think orcs are kind of naturally a problem. Their existence makes it difficult for us to exist. So unfortunately, we haven't found a better way of dealing with orcs other than eliminating them. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. What do they think about the Nids? They are dangerous, and they're a big threat, and I would like there to be more galactic cooperation to deal with them. Is it devised amongst races or just together? I'm not following what that question means. What happens when a Kroot eats an Eldar? They gain the traits of the Eldar. All right, I think I'm going to wrap up here. I want to thank everyone who came to support. Marked Ashamed, Edward Rylands, Miles O'Halloran, and we also had we had Hawkins donating as well. I want to thank everyone who donated and helped contribute to a very good stream. Thank you all very much. I hope this has been enlightening. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea of how to go about living a happier, more fulfilled life. And I hope to see you all next time. This has been the Kev'aun Jones Show. Thank you all very much for listening. And always, unless you are irredeemably violent and difficult to live with, we always welcome those into the greater good. Farewell and goodbye. We'll just go ahead and end this stream now. Okay, go ahead, Kristen.